So today's a different type of vlog. I've tried to do 24-hour reading vlogs in the past. It hasn't really worked out. So I was like, what can I do to motivate myself to actually try to read for these 24 hours? So the game plan is to set a timer for 24-hour countdown. And I'm gonna see if I can finish this selected set of books that I have in those 24 hours. I will sleep, so there will be time where I pause. There will be time when I eat that I pause. But I will keep the timer running as much as I possibly can. And I will either read for the 24 hours or stop the timer when I finish these books. Further explanation. I know how long it took me to read the last 5 books in 5 different series that I've read, that I'm in the process of reading. And I want to see if I can read the next book in each of those 5 series in the same amount of time or less. So the books are as follows. City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. This is the second book in the Shadowhunters series. Mortal Instruments. Shadowhunters Universe Mortal Instruments series. This is 95 pages less than City of Bones, which was the first book. So I should save a little bit of time on this one, right? The next book is One of Us is Next, which is the second book in the One of Us is Lying series. And this is 14 pages more than the first book. Then I have Unravel Me, which is the second book in the Shatter Me series. This book is 132 pages more than Shatter Me. Then I plan to read on my Kindle, because it's on Kindle Unlimited, the third book in the Chestnut Spring series, Powerless. I've read Flawless and Heartless. Heartless was longer, the longer of the two. And this is 104 pages less than Heartless. So again, I should save some time there. And then finally, The Wicked King, which is the second book in the Cruel Prince trilogy. And this is 48 pages less than The Cruel Prince was. So it took me about 22 hours to read the 5 books that preceded all of these in their series. So I'm gonna see if I can read these 5 in the same amount of time. I will start the timer. I plan on reading them in the order that I just showed them to you. If that changes, you'll find out when I do. But that's my plan for the reading order. This is really just to kind of appease my nerd brain, because I'm all about statistics and numbers, and I do track how long it takes me to read books. I have an app that tracks how long it takes me so that I know like my page per minute count. I know that's kind of insane, but I like numbers, so I like to do that. And since I had the next book in all 5 of these series, I thought, why don't we do a spin on the 24-hour challenge, since this should take me less than 24 hours to read. So it is almost 8 o'clock on Friday night. 7:30, 8 o'clock on Friday night. So I'm gonna start the timer soon. And I'm gonna start with City of Ashes. And I will pause the timer to sleep. But we'll see how far I can get tonight in these books. And then tomorrow I'm gonna spend most of the day reading. And hopefully I can be done by tomorrow evening. But I might be reading late into the night tomorrow night as well. So we're all gonna find out together. Sit back and enjoy what could be a really interesting time or a very painful day for me. So I'm only about an hour in, and I'm about 86 pages in, and I can't keep my eyes open. So what I think I'm gonna do is try to like sleep for a little bit and get up and continue reading, just so that I'm not falling asleep whilst reading. That's my first update. Hopefully I don't just sleep till morning, but we'll see. So it's been about 2.5 hours total that I've been reading. I have 21 hours and 22 minutes left of the timer, and I'm just over halfway of City of Ashes. So I don't know what that means based on how fast I read the last book. I'm actually reading this one a little bit slower, so page count wise, but I still think that if I can finish this one in 5 hours, I'll be okay, as long as the other ones don't take me too long to read. Who knows? That's the whole purpose of this, right? To see if I can repeat what I did with the first book. So I will update when a few more hours has passed, and we'll see where I am. It's now 8:10 and I have about 98 pages left of this, so let's get it done. So I finished City of Ashes, first book. So it took me 30 minutes longer than I had anticipated it taking based on how long it took me to read the first book. So not too far off, still within our margin of error, so I should be able to hopefully get through the other 4 books with the remaining 19 hours that I have. So that took me 5 hours to read. Not too bad, but I'll hopefully make it up on another book. So next is One of Us is Next, which is the second book in the One of Us is Lying, as of right now, trilogy, I believe. So this one is 14 pages longer than the previous one. So we'll see how this one stacks up time-wise for what I'm anticipating based on the first book. I'm also going to change rooms because I've been sitting in this one for too long. So next clips will be from my reading room. So I'm a third of the way through One of Us is Next. It's taking me about a little over an hour and 15 minutes to get here. So I still have 17 hours and 50 minutes left of the timer. And I just needed to like stand up and move for a little bit. And I went and grabbed an energy drink because I'm getting a little sleepy and it's 11 o'clock in the morning. So I have a lot of the day to go. All right, I'm gonna get back to it. So I just took a break and ate some lunch, and now I'm back to finish One of Us is Next. We've got 16 and a half hours left, so we'll restart the timer. Book 2 done. So we're at, let me stop the timer, just about 15 and a half hours left. So math, 8.5 hours to read 2 books. Not too bad. I need a break though before I go into the next one because I'm getting really squinty from looking at words all day. So next book is Unravel Me, I think, the second book of the Shatter Me series. So I'm gonna do the math on how long this book took versus the last one, and then I'll be back with Unravel Me. So I finished One of Us is Next, and it actually took me 45 minutes less to read this than I was anticipating. So I did make up the time that I lost on the last book, on City of Ashes. So I'm actually 11 minutes ahead of schedule according to the timer. So the next book is Unravel Me, which is the second book in the Shatter Me series. So that one is longer. It is 132 pages longer than Shatter Me was. So let's see how long it takes me to read this one. So we are at the 14 hour and basically 20 minutes left on the timer. And I'm about 120 pages into Unravel Me. This book is gonna go fast, I think, considering it's like 460 pages. The first book was really easy to read. It's YA, so it reads fast. The chapters are short, so I think I get through it a lot faster. We'll see. I just had to take, again, a break because my eyeballs. I don't think you're meant to read this many hours in a day. I feel like this is worse than staring at a screen, but we'll see. I will continue reading this and check in maybe another 100 pages. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So I've got just over 13 hours left on the clock. About halfway through Unravel Me, and I'm gonna try to get this done tonight. So let's do this. Hours and 20 minutes left on the countdown. 2 more books to go, hopefully. I'm gonna go check the time on this one and see how I fared based on what I thought it would be. So based on how quickly I read Shatter Me, I was expecting this book to take me about 26 minutes longer than it did. So I am now, 11 minutes ahead? So 37 minutes less than I had anticipated for these 3 books so far on the time. I'm going to start Chestnut Springs tonight, Powerless, the 3rd book in Chestnut Springs tonight on my Kindle. I might read for an hour or so, I don't know. It'll probably just depend on when my eyes start to burn. And then I will pick up tomorrow morning and hopefully finish the next 2 books, the last 2 books, before I head out for Easter. Stopping at like page 100 because I've read like way too much today, so I'll be back in the morning. So it's now Sunday morning, 7 a.m.-ish. I have 10 hours, I think, left on the timer. Yeah, 10 hours and 10 minutes left on the timer. I made it about 25% of the way through Powerless last night, and then I called it quits. So I have to finish this one up, and then I have one more book that I'm going to try to read today. I'm hopeful, but the last book's going to be a challenge for me, and we'll talk about that after I finish Powerless. On to that. Hopefully I can get through this quickly. Romances are usually pretty quick for me to read, so, and this one's like pretty cute. I'll check in once I make it a little further. Eight hours and 18 minutes left, and I'm on page 255 of Powerless, so I'm gonna take a break and eat breakfast, and then I'll be back to hopefully finish this in the next like hour and a half, I would think it would take. So still trucking along. I don't know how long the next book's gonna take. Hopefully not more than like 7 hours, which is what should be left by the time I'm done. So things are looking good. All right, it is just after 9 a.m. and I'm gonna try to finish this. Powerless, Jasper and Sloane story. I know I haven't really been talking a lot about the books as I've been like going through them because I am just trying to read without wasting too much time in between. But I will recap everything at the end, the books, what they're about, my thoughts on them, my ratings, all of that I'll be doing at the end of the video. So time to finish this book. That was cute. Book 4 done. Almost exactly 7 hours left on the timer. It's looking like I might be pretty accurate with my timing. We'll see how long the last book should take me. I definitely have enough time to finish it. I just don't know if I'll be accurate on the 22 hours versus like 23 or 24. So I'm like right on schedule now because that took me a little bit longer to read than I was expecting, by like 30 minutes. So it kind of offsets like where I was. I'm still like a few minutes ahead of schedule, but not enough to really like count. So I have 7 hours left on my timer and 1 book left. So the final book is The Wicked King by Holly Black. It's the 2nd book in the Cruel Prince trilogy. And the reason I don't know how long this one's going to take for me to read is not that the first one took a while, but I really didn't love the first book. I didn't like Cardan. Is that his name? Yeah, Cardan, the main character, the Cruel Prince. I didn't like him. I thought he was a jerk. I thought he was a bully. And I don't know how he's going to redeem himself. So depending on how this book goes, it just could be hard for me to like find the motivation to read through it. But I'll get through it. I just hope it doesn't take me forever. I'm gonna start this one in a little bit after I take a little brain break. This is 48 pages less than the Curl Prince, so should be able to read it faster, but as I've seen, that doesn't always mean anything. I definitely think I'll be able to read it in 7 hours though, so I will check back in once I've started this and kind of see how quickly I'm moving through it. Okay, so with just under 5 hours left on the timer, I have about half of this book left, but I need to get ready to leave my house. So I'm gonna pause there for now, and I'll have to finish the rest tonight when I get back from Easter dinner. But the good news is the first half of that book only took me about 2 hours, 2 hours and 3 minutes. So I should be able to finish within 21 hours, plus or minus a few minutes, assuming that for some reason the second half of the book doesn't take me twice as long. So it's looking up, and I won't have to read for an entire 24 hours, so that is good. I will check in later when I start and finish the second half of the book. Back from Easter, lunch, dinner. It's like just before 5 o'clock, and I've got just over 5 hours left on the timer, and hopefully just about 2 hours left in this book. So let's finish it. So I finished with 3 hours left on the timer, which means it took me 21 hours to read all 5 books, which was an hour less than I thought it would. Last book's done. I will wrap everything up tomorrow and go over my final thoughts and the final actual calculation of the time for each book. Time to wrap up the Beat the Clock challenge, I guess we can call it. So this week I read 5 books that were the next book in a series that I needed to complete. And I was trying to see if I could read them within a weekend, but also basically within the 24 hours that I had set on the timer. Because the last time I read a book in each of these series, that total time for those 5 books added up to be about 22 hours. Let's see how I did. Okay, so essentially the last books that I read totaled up to be about 1,331 hours. So based on the speed that I read those, which was like 22 hours, based on the speed that I read those, I tried to figure out how long it would take me to read these next 5 books. And I came up with like 1,308 minutes, which again, right around 22 hours. The actual time it took me to read these this time was 1,255 minutes, which is about 21 hours. So I had 3 hours almost exactly left on the clock when I finished the final book. So I was pretty accurate with my timing. This was like 132 pages less than the previous 5 books, so that explains that hour difference, I would say. So now I'm going to give my final thoughts on the books as well as the ratings that I gave them. First up was City of Ashes, second book in the Mortal Instruments series of the Shadowhunters universe. So this book definitely picked up the action more than the first book. I knew that was going to happen. I have read these books before. We definitely learn more about the characters in this, and their relationships are developing, and questions are being asked, and things are happening that are going to drive the story forward. So I already, again, know what's going to happen in this series for the most part. I feel like some things in the last few books may surprise me, but for now, this is all that I've remembered. I rated this 3.5 stars and like half a spice point because there is a little bit, but not anything drastic. So I did enjoy this. The story is moving along, but I am more excited, I think, to get into the other series of the Shadowhunters universe because I've only read the Mortal Instruments. Then I read One of Us is Next, which is the sequel to One of Us is Lying, the second in what is currently a trilogy for this universe world. And this follows similar characters. The characters from the first book are still in this. The spotlight's on different characters from the first book. So Maeve, who was Bronwyn's sister in the first book, is kind of one of the leads in this book. Phoebe, who was in the previous book, is in this. I don't remember if we knew Knox in the first one. I can't remember him if he was in it. He was very brief, but he's in this book. It's the same school, the same group of friends, just like a different generation, like a few years younger. I did kind of know what was going on, at least, if not before halfway through the book, so that was kind of a bummer. but the way it was all tied together and everybody's relationships were tied together and the full story tied to the first one and everything, that was interesting. And this was really fun and fast-paced. It's a YA mystery. You're kind of gonna know what's going on. I still had a lot of fun with this. I gave it a 3.75, just short of a 4-star, and I think had I not been able to tell very blatantly what was going to happen, I wouldn't have rated, I probably would have given it a 4, but that's where it sat. Then I read Unravel Me, which is the second book in the Shatter Me series. This is a dystopian YA series about a girl named Juliet who has like a lethal touch, and we meet her in the first book. We meet some other main characters in the first book, and this is just a continuation of that story. It's a continuation of her figuring out how to live in a world where she can't touch somebody without hurting them or possibly killing them. And you're finding out about all these other people and secrets that this world is hiding and this new regime is hiding that they don't want people to find out about. And this was definitely more action-packed. And I really am excited to see where the rest of this series goes. I'm hoping there's more action in the rest of the books, but this was a good time. This was a fun time. Read it pretty quick. I gave this one 4 stars, which was at least a half higher than the first book. And there was a little more spice in this. It was like a 1.5. So very much looking forward to continuing this series. Then on my Kindle, I read Powerless, which is the 3rd book in the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. It was cute, but probably not I think so far, the one with Cade and Willa was my favorite so far. Surprisingly, because I don't like the single dad trope. But that one was my favorite so far. I do like a hockey trope. I like a sports romance. This was just a little too predictable. The relationship between them was really cute, but the angst was a little too much and it was a little overdone, and the speed at which they emitted their feelings after like the big thing happened at the beginning was kind of off for me. Like the pacing just wasn't right in this book, but the relationship was cute. The characters were fun. I do like this family and meeting these characters and like I do like this family and continuing the journey with these characters and this world. So I enjoyed it. Still only gave it like a 3.5. 3 stars is pretty normal for a romance for me, so 3.5 means, yeah, I'm probably going to recommend this as a series. Definitely not my favorite in the series so far. And then finally, I read The Wicked King, which is the 2nd book after Cruel Prince in what is the Folk of the Air series. I couldn't remember that in my wrap-up, so I looked it up. This book picks up after the betrayal that happens at the end of the first book, and this book ends with a betrayal. And if you've seen my previous vlogs, if you've heard me talk about The Cruel Prince, I don't know why everybody like adores this series. Like, it's interesting. This book was so much more interesting than the first one, I think, because there was more like less world building and more action and more story in this one, more plot. But I do not like Cardan, and I don't understand how everybody does. And I thought I'd like him more in this book, and I was starting to like him, and I still hate him. So I don't know that he's going to redeem himself in The Queen of Nothing, which is the 3rd and final book in this trilogy. I'm still liking our main character, Jude, and the story in general is interesting, so I am going to continue into Queen of Nothing. At this point, I've read 2 out of 3 of the books. I'm going to finish it. But I just don't get why everybody likes him. I'm sorry, I'm probably missing something. I think he's just a jerk. So that's my thoughts on that. This was a 3.5 star, because I did enjoy it a little bit more than the first one, which I gave a 3. And the spice was probably around a 1. It's closed door because it's YA, but things are implied. So these were the 5 books I read in this challenge, and I did complete the challenge. I'm very excited about that. It was a lot of reading this weekend, but it was worth it. I did enjoy these books. And the book I'm currently reading now, which will be the beginning of the next vlog, which I will look very similar at the beginning of that as I do at the end of this one, is The Heartless Hunter, which is a book I'm very much looking forward to. So I don't think I'm going to slump out after reading as much as I did this weekend because of that book, I'm hoping. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If there's other reading vlogs ideas that you want me to maybe look at doing, let me know. I'm open to suggestions. I do have some ideas, but again, if there's something you really want to see me read that you've seen in anything that I've shown, like books I've bought or my TBR chooses, whatever that may be, just let me know and I'll try to make it happen. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next one.